Okay, so good morning. This is going to be our first Melt Method class in our 4-class series, and I just really want to welcome you and thank you so much for joining me on this little discovery session of your body. Some of us have been melting for a long time. Martha, you've probably been melting for almost as long as I have. 8 years is a long time. You should be an instructor by now. Yeah. So what I thought we would do over the course of the series is just review some of the basics, and then we'll move you into what I consider some of the more intermediate level exercises as we go through. And as Kathy and Julie both noted, it's not really a big heavy movement protocol. It's really about tapping into a really beautiful system of your body called fascia or connective tissue. It's a fluid-based system in the body. It's little tiny tubes or filaments. And as we age, the fluid dries out and it leads to things like wrinkles and cellulite, you know, the stuff you see in the backs of other people's thighs. But it also compresses the joints, and so it can make you feel a little tight and sticky. So we just talked to everybody in the group about what kind of common concerns we might be dealing with, and how many of you said you're stiffer in the morning than you are during the rest of the day. Like, raise your hand if you said that. Yeah, just about everybody says that. And it's because the fascia has been still all night long. And so when you get up, there's just this tightness that occurs in your body. And after you move around for a little bit, you rehydrate that tissue. So that's kind of the concept that we're working with. We're actually looking for areas of tightness, of stiffness in the body, and we're going to rehydrate those areas by breaking up this dry viscous fluid that accumulates within that system, send fresh fluid through the system, and the body just moves a whole lot better. So the MELT method has 3 levels. This is the MELT length series. So that means you're going to be doing all the yummy work. It all feels really good. Your body feels awesome afterwards. But I have to tell you, it doesn't create long lasting changes. It's something that you have to do fairly consistently. So that brings me to the recording. So this is a recording that you'll have access to for the week. And you can go in and practice these moves anytime you need them. You can do them in little bits at a time. You know, you don't have to do the whole class in one go. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, great. So you could just do the foot treatment and then just turn it off and then wait and maybe later do the rebalance sequence if you like. So with that said, this is a group format, and I know some of us have a history of injuries. So just make sure that you're honoring your body. Always listen to your body. I always like to tell people, you're the boss, and I'm here to merely suggest these are the moves that we're going to do today, but you're the boss. But it is interesting to note, if you do have pain, just remember that pain pulls you into that stress aspect of the autonomic nervous system. And many of you were on the Implement 2021 call that we had last week. And we showed you that the nervous system is divided into 2 parts. You have a stress part and you have a restore part, and they don't work at the same time. So if you're in stress mode, which is when you feel pain, your body's not going to be in healing mode, which is part of the rest and restore aspect of the nervous system. So if you have pain, I need you to back it off, okay? And we're going to explore some of that today. Okay, so you'll have it for a week. Do it when you can. Ideally, you have a little bit of water, maybe before you do class. You can you can drink water during your melt class, and of course have some afterwards. Give yourself plenty of fluid to circulate through the body. All right. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and start with a foot treatment. So I'm going to ask you to stand, and you're going to have the larger soft ball that's in your kit. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the foot chart so you can see what that looks like. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to start obviously in the middle of the foot, but let's visit all of these spots on the bottom of your foot. And as we go through them, I'll talk to you a little bit about the connection energetically from these points on your foot to the rest of your body. You may or may not be able to see me as I do the method. If that's a problem for you, then go ahead and move your camera around a little bit so you can see. I'm going to drop mine a little bit. Okay, so the MELT method is full of assessments, as we already know. And that gives you an opportunity to connect your mind and your body as you deal with issues of intermittent or chronic pain. You might recognize that you have these issues, but you don't want to deal with them. And your body has to manage it despite your active control over that. So we're going to connect to you, mind and body, so that when you heal the body, the mind doesn't have to worry about it anymore. So I'm standing with my feet about hip distance apart, and the toes are pointing straight towards the computer. The tops of my toes are even from the right foot to the left foot. My arms are going to be by my side, and I welcome you to close your eyes if you like. You can keep them open if you prefer, but closing them will help you turn off your common sense of sight and turn on your body's natural ability to find itself in time and space. So from here, I want you to think about the way your feet feel on the floor. And ideally, both feet would be evenly weighted right to left, but you might notice that one foot feels a little heavy on the floor, heavier than the other one. So just notice that. Consider the body weight on the bottom of your foot and think about whether or not you're feeling like you have more weight towards the balls of your feet or back on your heels. Notice if you're on the outside of the foot, or are you more towards the inside of the foot where the big toe and the arch connect? Just notice. You can scan up the shin, think about the kneecap, and ideally the kneecap is soft. But for a lot of people that I know, including myself, the knees are pulled back into the joint. Just notice how you feel. Don't change a thing. Just come up and think about your quadricep muscles, the muscles above the knees, and come back to the gluteus muscle, your cute little butt cheeks. And just notice if you're holding those muscles under tension, or do you feel like they're relaxed? Okay, so after you get your assessment, you're going to take your right foot onto the ball, placing the ball at position number 1, so it's right smack dab in the center. And I'm going to tip my body weight from side to side, and the ball is pushing into the center of my foot. The center of my foot is connected energetically to all of the arches and domes of my body. So it's connected to my knees, it's connected to my diaphragm, it's connected to my lungs. It's connected to what we call the rooted core of the body, which is connective tissue that goes from your head all the way down to your feet. From here, I'm going to settle both feet into the floor. And what I do is I think about my toes. I want to make sure that I have my big toe and my pinky toe evenly weighted to the floor. I'm going to bend my knees, rotate my spine, and I'm going to swing my arms around. So when I asked you if one leg felt like it was heavier into the floor than the other one, you might be surprised to know that this is the fix for that. All right, when you're ready, come on back up. So from here, let's take the weight off of the ball and bring the ball into position number 2 in line with your big toe. So this is in the ball of the foot. I'm going to take a breath, and as I exhale, I'm going to put focused energy on my right foot so that the ball is pushing into my foot at position number 2 underneath the big toe knuckle. Ease your body weight back onto the left foot and then move the ball a little bit over to the right and get into that second toe knuckle. Give it a little press, take a focused breath, and come back onto the left foot. Moving the ball again a little bit to the right, inside the ball of the foot, right into the knuckle of the third toe, which is inside the ball of the foot. I'm taking the ball into the fourth toe knuckle, and you'll notice that the ball is going to drop down as it travels, ultimately, which we're going to go right now, into the pinky toe knuckle. When you look at your foot, ideally you don't see that ball poking out between your toes or on the outside of the foot. From here, I'm going to take the ball to position 3A, which is in the arch of my foot, deeper towards my heel. And I'm going to press into position 3A. I'm going to ease my body weight back onto my left foot, and I'm going to roll the ball up to position 3B. If you have any pain with any of these points, I want you to notice that and ease the pressure off of your foot so that you don't have any pain. I'm going to move the ball to position 4, which is in between the pinky and my heel, and I'm going to give that a little press. And then I'll take my body weight off the ball to move the ball to position number 5. So that's not on my heel, it's just before I get there, and give it a little press. From here, I'm going to keep the ball in position number 5, but I've lightened the load of my foot, and I'm going to turn my foot so that the ball is massaging across position number 5. I'm going to move my foot forward so the ball does a zigzag onto my heel. I'm going to bring the ball back into position number 5. I'm going to hold the ball at position 5, put a little bit more body weight on my foot, and give it a good scratch. So I'm going deeper into the tissue here. I'll tell you more about what we're doing when we get to the left foot. We'll just go through the choreography here. I'm going to hold the ball still and just take a focused breath. And from here, this is my favorite one. We're going to take the ball back to position number 2 inside the ball of the foot. I have my heel planted into the floor, and I'm going to put pressure on the ball to pivot on my heel to bring the ball across the ball of my foot to the pinky toe. Lighten the load on the ball, bring it back to position 2 at the big toe mound, push down and pivot. So you want the ball to stay pancaked as it comes towards the pinky toe and have the ball be round as it comes towards the big toe. I do that about 300 or 400 times. No, I'm only kidding, just 3 or 4 times. And then from here, we're going to do a similar technique where I'm going to take the ball from position number 2 and roll it all the way back to my heel. I'm going to put it at the big toe mound, and I'm going to bring the ball back towards my heel. I'm taking a step forward. You can see my left foot comes right off the floor. I'm going to return the ball to position number 2 in line with the second toe knuckle, push the ball into my foot, and I'm going to pull the ball back towards my heel. I'm keeping my weight balanced as I bring the ball to the third point on my ball of foot by keeping my rib cage over that traveling foot, and that's going to maintain consistent and even pressure on the ball. So just bring that ball from each knuckle down the long bone of your foot back into the heel. Once you've done it for each knuckle and long bone, do it a few more times anywhere you like. The other little tip I have for you is to make sure your eye gaze is straight ahead. You might be tempted to look at your foot, which is fine to get yourself started. But as you start to roll the ball, see if you can look across the room. The last technique is to take the ball underneath your foot and move it quickly but lightly underneath the ball of the foot, into the arch, back on the heel, and let your thighs shake. This is going to pull the fluid inside the connective tissue up into the joints of the body, including your knee, your hip, your spinal column, all the way up into your neck and shoulders. From here, take your right foot onto the floor. Both feet are side by side in that assessment position. And just notice if you've made a change on that right leg. One of the things that I love to notice is I feel like I have a seamless connection from my foot all the way through my body over here on the right side. But on my left side, I really can feel that I have an ankle and a knee and a hip. It feels very segmented over on the left. Other things you might notice is that that right foot feels like it's a little heavier into the floor. It might feel a little bit warmer, all good signs. Let's go ahead and do the same exact technique over on the left foot. So this is going to be a full softball treatment for your foot. I start by taking the ball into position number 1, tipping my body from side to side, creating tolerable pressure. There's no pain. If there is pain, you can keep your right foot staggered back a little bit. If it was intense pain, you could even do this sitting in a chair. From here, I'm going to settle both feet into the floor, making sure that my toes are on the mat. I'm going to bend my knees, rotate my spine, and swing my arms around. Now, sometimes people's shoulders can be a little tight and sticky, so make sure you're honoring your range of motion in your shoulders. It's one of the things I'd like to talk to you about today as we go through class. Come on back up when you're ready, and let's take the ball into position number 2 inside the ball of the foot. You'll take a focused breath, and you'll push the ball into that knuckle. Ease your body weight back off onto the right foot, and move the ball a little bit to the left. So all of these points for position 2, and I'm just going to trust that you're going into each knuckle, taking a focused breath, and then coming back onto the right foot. Each one of these points is associated with your head, your sinuses. So if you're noticing that you have a sinus headache or you're having a headache at all, pressing into the ball of the foot could actually be pretty helpful. So once I've done that position point pressing across the ball of the foot, I'm going to go deep into position 3A. This point is associated with your lumbar spine. So if you're having some low back issues, this could be a place where you want to consider spending a little time and energy, and just notice if it feels tight and sticky down here. I'm going to roll the ball up to position 3B and give this a press. And this is energetically connected to my thoracic spine, my spine that travels through the rib cage. I'm going to move the ball over to position number 4, and I'm going to give that a little press. And this is related to metabolic functions. So it's related to your stomach and your digestion. I'm taking the ball back to position number 5, where I'm going to give it a good press. This is related to your pelvic organs. And then ease the body weight off of your foot here and go right into the turning of the leg, which is a glide. You're just easing your way through this tissue, preparing it for other techniques perhaps. But for today, our goal is to just see how it feels. Moving the ball onto your heel. If we use the firmer ball in your kit, you might notice that it feels like it's a little crunchy. But when you use the nice soft ball, it's just a very easy way to manipulate the tissue, very gentle. Bring your foot heavier onto the ball and give it a little scratch. And this is called a shear technique. This is where you break up that dry and viscous fluid that accumulates right here in your foot that could be interfering with the mobility and stability of your entire body. Put some body weight onto your foot here, position 5. Take another focused breath. This is where the cells adapt and change. Coming off of your foot, coming off your ball, bring the ball up to position number 2. And we'll do my favorite one. This is a rinse across the ball of the foot. The ball's positioned at point 2 at the big toe mound. Even pressure to come across to the pinky toe. Lighten the load on the ball. Return to the big toe mound and do that a few more times. So I'm pushing the fluid from my big toe mound over to the pinky toe. From here, I'm going to take the ball down the bottom of my foot. This is also a rinse. I'm taking the ball from the big toe mound, bringing it back towards my heel. I do that for each toe knuckle and long bone inside my foot. So when I do this with you, I do a lot of chatting, a lot of talking, and I always feel like it takes longer to teach it than it actually does to do it. So you could use this video just to help you get started. But whatever you do is going to be great. Maybe you want to make a screen capture of this little foot map, and you could have that for yourself for later if you don't already have one. Or if you prefer, maybe it would be easier, I can just add it into your email this week. I'll do that. Okay, so after I've run the ball down the bottom of my foot, the last thing I do is friction. Friction pulls the fluid from my foot up into all of these gorgeous lines of connective tissue, the front line, the back line, the spiral line, the lateral line, and even into the arm lines. Because we've been standing on that right foot for a few minutes, let's go ahead and bring the ball underneath the right foot and just do a quickie friction over on that side. And then when you're ready, let's have you stand with both feet hip distance apart. And this is your reassessment. This is an opportunity to reconnect with your body and ask yourself if you feel like you are evenly weighted on your feet. Ideally, you feel like you have more weight right and left, but it feels evenly weighted. Notice if you have more body weight on the balls of your foot or your heels, but maybe you notice that it feels even. Ideally, you feel evenly weighted all across the bottom of your foot, from the ball of the foot to the heel and from the inside of the foot to the outside. Travel up your shin, think about your kneecaps, and notice if the knees feel like they're nice and relaxed. Ideally, they would be. And then if the knees are not pulled in, then you're not going to be having that tension in your quadricep and your gluteus muscles, which is exhausting for your body to maintain that tension just to hold you up. Ideally, it should happen just naturally through your body's connective tissue and its insertion into your muscles. Great. Okay, how'd we do with that?
Good.
Great. Yay, yeah. Good. Okay, let's have you come down onto your mat. And now from here, I really am probably just going to be chatting to you. If you have a concern about if you're in the right place, if you're doing it right, then just speak up, okay? Don't keep it a secret, and I'll take a little look at you. You've all done a really good job of orienting your camera so that I can see you this morning. If you want me to see you, just make sure that you can see me. And you're just going to lie right on your back. Your arms and legs are going to be straight. Your arms will be by your side. Your palms will be pointed up towards the ceiling. And you're so glad you came. I'm so happy to see you this morning. And if you notice that your body is in pain, your assessment is done. So don't continue to lie there in pain. You can roll over on your side, bend your knees, whatever makes you feel good. So we're using this position. It's called anatomical 0, or rest assess in melt language. And go ahead and lengthen out those legs unless your back is bothering you, and then you can bend your knees. Okay, so Teresa's like compromising. Whatever feels good, right? Whatever feels good for you. Okay, so from here, we're going to think about the body in terms of masses and spaces. There are areas of the body that are naturally weighted to the floor. Your head and your heels would be example. And then there are areas of the body that naturally lift away from the floor. And that's the back of your neck, behind your knees. And I know I've told you all this before, but it's worth repeating. I feel that when you have dry connective tissue in your body, it changes the spaces and it makes the spaces either really big or it totally flattens them out. And what we want is a nice proportion of masses to spaces, and that's going to be your neutral alignment. So the first place we're going to investigate will be the shoulder blades. There are actually 4 places in the body that kind of hold on to stuck stress, and the shoulder blades is one of them. So ideally, the shoulder blades feel wide and flat and heavy on the floor, like you barely notice them. But if you feel like you notice that the shoulder blades are poking into the floor, then you have stuck stress around the shoulder girdle. If you travel down the arms, ideally the back of the hands are resting on the floor. But for some students, you'll notice that it's more the pinky side, the pinky edge side. And that could be an issue with your shoulders, but it could also be inside the rib cage that's causing an internal rotation. So just notice. When you have the shoulder blades poking into the floor, you could have neck pain, you could have shoulder pain, and you can have pain that radiates down the arms. So just notice how you're feeling. From here, take a finger, poke it into your belly button, and draw a line straight through your body. Before your line hits the mat underneath you, you're going to find the bottom of your rib cage. And ideally, the bottom of the rib cage is a mass, and it's weighted to the floor. Some students will notice that this area of their back is actually arched away from the floor. They feel like it's a big lift. And for me, sometimes I can actually see the displacement of the rib cage lifting up towards the ceiling. So just notice if you're feeling like the ribs are lifted away. Why don't you raise your hand for me if you feel like the rib cage feels like it's kind of light there? Yeah, it's a really common imbalance. Thank you all for saying that. I think everybody just raised their hands. Okay, so that puts a little extra wear and tear on the spinal column, but it also pulls on your diaphragm and it makes breathing a little bit more difficult, makes digestion a little more difficult. And you'll find when the ribs are heavy on the floor that it's a really great way to relax the entire body. It just feels so nice. So take your finger out of that belly button and let's travel down into the hips. So we're in the pelvis now, and I want you to think about the weight of your body here. Ideally, you're resting on those 2 cute little butt cheeks that are on the floor. But some students will say, yeah, no, not so much. I feel like I'm on the big bone at the back of my pelvis, or I'm on my tailbone. So just notice how you feel. Why don't you raise your hand if you feel like you're on your tailbone or the big bone at the back of your pelvis? Yeah, it's very common. Okay, great. So just notice if you have 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of these common imbalances, and we'll go through them really quick before we have you come onto the roller. Kathy's already saying, yeah. So the back of the thighs, ideally, are going to be resting on the mat, but it would stand to reason, of course, that if your pelvis isn't quite in the right spot, it's going to take those legs with them. So just notice, are the backs of the thighs weighted to the floor, or raise your hand if you feel like they're lifted away from the floor. They're kind of light at the back of the thighs. Yeah. Okay, great. I get excited when people have misalignments. It gives us things to work with. Okay, so we went through the shoulder blades, the bottom of the rib cage, the pelvis, and the back of the thighs. And you may have noticed again that you had 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of these misalignments. And that can create a lot of compensation in the way the body moves. And the compensation is what can get us into trouble. All of a sudden you bend over to tie your shoe and you throw your back out, right? So you want to make sure that you're nice and mobile and you're also in your neutral alignment. Okay, there's one more assessment that we do here, and it's called the autopilot. And what we'll do is divide the body in half from your head to your feet, right side to left side. And I just want you to think about how you feel. So ideally, the 2 sides of the body feel evenly weighted and they're the same length. But I was pretty surprised myself the first time I did this. I felt like my right leg was reaching right out the door of the room. So how many of you feel like one side of the body feels heavier or longer? Yeah, yeah. Isn't that weird? Everybody raised their hand. It's very strange. So this is an aspect of your nervous system. Again, the autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for fight or flight, rest and restore. And in this case, the autonomic nervous system is managing your body's sense of balance. So you're a little out of balance when you feel that one side of the body feels a little longer and heavier, but it's actually a really easy thing to fix. And so let's work on that first. So gently roll over into your shoulder, come on up to sitting, and let's have everybody get onto the round roller. And we'll go into the rebalance sequence. And I'd like to visit the rebalance sequence twice during our session. The first time that we'll do it, it'll be just a nice basic rebalance sequence. Something that you can do, I think, before you go to bed at night is so nice. Sue Hitzman would recommend the rebalance sequence about an hour or so before you go to bed, but really you could do it anytime. So when you're ready, you'll just come onto your roller, just sit right on the very end. If you're looking at the screen, Teresa Edge looks really nice. I'd like you to put your palms down onto the floor. That's the only little change I would make. But if you wanted to look at Teresa, she looks perfect. Okay, so from here, I just love, so Kathy, you okay with getting on your roller?
I'm on the end of it.
Okay, and just let your spine come all the way back. Yep, and bend your knees. Yep, perfect. All right, now you're on your roller. And just make sure your head's on the roller. I hate when your head's falling off. Okay, so make sure your head stays on. And the first thing that I love to acknowledge here is that you're getting a nice big stretch right across the chest, across the front of your shoulders. The collarbone feels nice and wide. Everything we do in life is in front of us. And so just getting on the roller allows everything to just open up and fall back. So you're already getting a nice passive stretch through those shoulders. Remember that your palms are down on the floor. And I want you to start gently rocking your body right and left. So just let your body weight tip right and left. Good. And what I think about is having my spine stay right here on the roller so that everything moves together. Everything's moving. So allow the head, the shoulders, the ribs, the hips, the knees. You'll even feel the weight of your feet shift when you go right to left. Okay, so this is called gentle rocking, and we do this to get the body used to being on the roller. So we're just attending to the nervous system. I'm using my indoor voice to help you stay nice and calm and relaxed. We're also sending fresh fluid through the spinal column from the head all the way down to the hips. We do this for about 30 to 60 seconds. I haven't been counting, but I'm going to say that you're done. Come on back into center when you're ready. Find a centered, balanced place. And now what we'll do is place your hands onto your pelvis. The heel of your hand will be on your hip bones, and the fingertips will be reaching towards the pubic bone. I have your hands on your pelvis so that you can feel the movement of the pelvis as you go into 3 positions: tuck, tilt, and neutral. The first one is the tuck position. You'll take the low back curve and drop it right down onto the roller. So there's some physical energy needed to pull yourself into this position. You're going to notice that the low back is down on the roller, but if you travel with your mind's eye and just come up a little higher into the rib cage, you'll notice that there's weight on the thoracic spine, or that spine that travels through the rib cage. So just be attentive to the weight of the spine on the roller in this position. Again, it's called the tuck. From here, we'll come from the tuck into the opposite position, which is going to be your tilt. You're going to feel the back arch away from the roller. And I bet everybody's going to go, yeah, this is where I live. This feels so much more comfortable, right? This is the way you presented when you were lying on the floor. So now there's this big lift in your back. You can feel the tips of your fingers drop a little bit. The heel of the hand comes up a little bit. And just notice you've got that big old space. From here, I'd like to take you back to the tuck position. So the low back comes down against the roller. You can get that weight across the spinal column. And I want you now to consider the heel of the hand is low, the tips of the fingers are high. And we're going to shift the movement of the pelvis into neutral. Keep the weight on the thoracic spine and just ease the low back curve a tiny bit away from the roller. So you'll keep your butt cheeks down on the roller, a nice little space in the low back curve, and the ribs are weighted. And if you think about your hands, like I can see Teresa, she's so perfectly presented with her camera. The heel of her hand and the tips of the fingers are nice and level and even. And that's ideally what neutral looks like. Now for me, when I do this on the roller, I'll feel like I'm still kind of in a tuck position. Sorry, there's a helicopter going by. Okay, so in this position, I feel myself that I'm still kind of in a tuck. So what I do is I bring my tips of fingers down onto the floor, and don't make a big deal out of this. Just engage the core a little bit and lift your hips up off the roller about an inch or so, and then let yourself come right back down. So you're just resetting your pelvis. And what you might notice is you feel like you're more towards your tailbone on the roller, and you have a little bit bigger lift in the lumbar curve, but you feel weighted through the thoracic spine. Does that make sense? Everybody looks great. Okay, good. So this is the 3D breath breakdown. One hand to the chest, one hand to the belly. Perfect. And I want you to give me a couple of breaths, just an inhale and an exhale. Just notice the movement of the rib cage. So Sue Hitzman says, we're not going to fix anything here. We're just tapping into your natural breath pattern. Ideally, you're feeling both hands move. Ideally, you're feeling the ribs move up to the ceiling, but also back down into the roller. If you're not noticing these things, then it's a little bit of a breath issue, could have a little bit of stuck stress or dry connective tissue that surrounds the ribs and the diaphragm. From here, bring your hands to the sides of your rib cage, let your elbows drop down onto the floor. Take a couple of deep breaths here and notice that the ribs will pull out into your hands as they expand. You might not notice that. You might feel like you still have a bit of a belly breath or a chest breath. And again, it could be this dryness inside the connective tissue. Just notice. When you're ready, one hand to the throat by the collarbones and the other hand way down towards the pubic bone. And now we're discovering the length of the rib cage. And as you breathe in and out, ideally the hands are moving away from the center of your body. Might notice a little bit of a lift of the ribs away from the roller in your inhale. And now let's pull it together by doing what Sue Hitzman calls a 3D breath. Bring your hands onto your belly. Be mindful of your position on the roller. You're still very neutral here. You're going to inhale through your nose, and on your exhale through your mouth, give me a noisy exhale and cinch in that waistline. So it sounds like an inhale and a shh. And ideally, you're feeling the belly button pull down into the body towards the spinal column. Ideally, you're feeling a wrapping of muscle around your waistline, getting a little tighter, getting a little smaller. Something that we all crave, right? And what's happening here is this beautiful muscle called the transverse is becoming activated. It's a deep core stabilizer. And for some of us, this deep core stabilizer is not working efficiently. The timing is a little off. It works actually nanoseconds before you move, but for some of us, the timing's off. So if you're not noticing that contraction around the waistline, let's try another breath. You could try a S sound. So it's an inhale and then a and just give me two of those with that S sound. Pull that belly button in nice and tight as you exhale. Everything is neutral. Shoulders are relaxed, face is relaxed. And then you could try another breath. You could try the HA sound. So it's an inhale and a So explore what breath resonates with you. We're looking for that deep core stabilization. Take another breath and exhale in whatever manner you like, choosing a noisy breath. The noisy breath helps to slow down the rate of exhalation and give your body a chance to find that deep core stabilizer. Okay. From here, I'd like you to take your hands on your shoulders. And I want you to draw circles with your elbows, but keep the elbows pointed up towards the ceiling. The hands are on the shoulders. Nice, Martha. They're nice and small and slow. I want you to notice if you hear any clicking or clacking or snapping or popping. Does anybody notice? If you do, make that range of motion smaller and slower. Reverse the direction of your little circles. We're just hydrating that shoulder joint. The shoulder joint is one of the most vulnerable joints in your body because it has a huge range of motion. And when you're ready, bring your hands back down onto the floor and gently rock right and left. Palms are down onto the floor, gently rock. Come back to center. Extend one leg so that that heel stays on the floor. If you've extended, oh, so Kathy, just put that leg right on the floor. Yeah, right down on the floor, good. And you're gonna take that same hip and that same shoulder off the roller onto your mat. So you're just exiting off the roller. Perfect, Kathy. And just push the roller out from underneath you and lie on your back. So this is a reassessment, again, similar to what we did with the feet. So you'll just lie on your back, palms are turned up towards the ceiling, and we'll revisit those masses and spaces. So ideally, the shoulder blades feel wider and flatter and heavier on the floor. Does anybody notice that? Yeah, good, excellent. So we're getting rid of some of that stuck stress, good. And then take a finger, poke it into your belly button and draw a line from the belly down towards the roller, down towards the mat, sorry. And ideally you should notice that there's some weight on the ribs. Is everybody noticing that? How about you, Martha?
There's more weight, but I can still put my hand under there.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna work on that next. Okay, great. Okay, Kathy's giving me a thumbs up, good. How about you, Barbara? Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling like we're moving the right direction, good. Okay, nice, Teresa. And Teresa. Okay, so travel down into the pelvis, and ideally the butt cheeks are weighted to the floor. Everybody feel like they're moving in the right direction there? Nice, I love that. And then the back of the thighs may have responded for you. So just notice if you're getting a little bit more weight. So all we did, right, was a little gentle rocking, a little breathing, a little moving your shoulders around a little bit, and you were able to get some great neutral alignment. And this is a great technique to restore balance within the nervous system. So you might even notice that your state of mind is a little bit more calmer than it was when you first came into the call this morning. So again, this is a great one to do before you go to bed. Okay, so I always do this one next, but let's go ahead and we won't change form today. Let's go ahead and just do a little head turn assessment, turning your head right and left for me. And just notice the range of motion that you have as you turn your head. No pain, right? I'm not yanking on those muscles in your neck. I'm just letting the right ear get heavy, the left ear get heavy. And just notice if you're dealing with a limited range of motion on one side, if you're feeling any pain, and then come on back to center. From here, you're gonna bend your knees. You're gonna take your round roller underneath your bent knees, and let's do a little work for the back of the pelvis. We won't stay here long. Bridge up when you're ready. Just keep your knees bent, Kathy. Feet are gonna be flat to the floor. Yeah, and engage your core. Do like a little bridge and pick your body up off of the mat. And the roller is gonna come right up underneath you. So with your fingers, that's it, perfect, 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 great. So it's gonna go right at the back. Good, Martha, that looks beautiful. Go ahead and bring your knees in. So Martha's got a good position. You could let your knees come a little closer to your chest, Martha, if you wanted to. Just let your hands go and let the knees just pull in. It's kind of like that shell stretch or child's pose. That's it. So Kathy, just bring your knees in towards your chest. Beautiful, nice. And just allow your body to rest here. Let the heels be nice and heavy, Teresa, against the back of your thighs. Teresa Luciano, nice and heavy, just relax. And just notice that the thoracic spine is weighted to the mat. So this is just a very beautiful passive stretch, gives you a little bit more weight across the shoulder blades and into the thoracic spine. So Barbara Fleming, you can do the same thing. Just bring your knees right into your chest if you want. Just get them nice and heavy. There you go. Good, good, good. Okay, so from here, we're going to move the knees a little further away from the torso. Yes, good. Nice. I would stop right there, Martha. That looks beautiful. So here's the deal. If the knees are pointing right up towards the ceiling, you're going to be in your hip flexors. And I know you don't want to do that. So let the knees relax a little bit more towards the chest and air on that side. Okay, so don't put too much tension on those beautiful psoas muscles. From here, put the hands onto the rib cage so that you'll maintain some connection to the ribs on the floor. We don't want those to move around. Your knees right now are pointing at 12 o'clock, and I'd like you to take a breath, and on your exhale, move the knees over to the right as if you were pointing towards 1 o'clock on a little clock. Good, and that's as far over as we're gonna go. You're gonna inhale to stay, and on your exhale, you're gonna bring your knees over to the 11 o'clock side. So you come across 12 and go a little bit over to the left. Again, don't go too far because we're staying right on the SI joint, which is at the back of your pelvis. Inhale and exhale and travel again over to the 1 o'clock side, and just be mindful of any tension or like texture difference that you feel on the tissue on the back of your pelvis. So travel back and forth, right to left for me. Just do it a couple times, remembering to exhale as you move. Good. Inhale, stay, exhale to move. Does anybody notice it feels a little different on one side, especially if you have a sciatic issue? Yeah, there's Teresa Edge giving me a little raise. So let's have you come over to the 1 o'clock side. So you're pointing to the right. The back of the pelvis is nice and heavy. It's lighter on the left side, heavier on the right. The knees stay together, and you're just going to draw 3 circles, nice and slow with those knees. So I'm saying that it's in the knees, but you can really feel the back of your pelvis being massaged against the roller. When you're ready, just the right knee is going to draw circles. And I'm saying it's the right knee, but of course it's the right hip, right? So there's just little circles. And just notice how well you draw just with the right knee. You're just drawing now with the right knee. Good, Kathy, that's it. And just assess the quality of your circles. Reverse the direction, drawing circles with the right knee. Good, everybody looks great. Hold those knees still for me. And then one leg will come down towards the floor a little bit. So the knee stays bent, it's a march. That's it, Teresa Edge, good. One knee stays in towards you, the other knee travels away, and you march. So just swap the position of the legs, Kathy, good, that's it. And instead of reaching out with your feet, reach down towards the floor with your feet. Yes, there you go, perfect. Bring the knees back to that 1 o'clock side, take a focused breath. And on your exhale, bring your knees over to the 11 o'clock side. The knees are going to stay together, and you're going to draw some circles. The knees stay together, just draw some circles. Keep the ribs nice and heavy. Back of shoulders are relaxed. And when you're ready, the left knee all by itself. Assess the quality of those circles on the left knee only. You might notice that you are a better drawer on the right side. When you're ready, reverse the direction. We just need to do about 3 of them here. Go in a nice, easy range of motion. And then from here, we're going to march the legs. So one knee comes in, yep, and one knee comes away. There you go. So you're just marching the legs. Beautiful job here. Nice, nice, nice. The knees will come back to the 11 o'clock side. You take a focused breath. And on your exhale, bring your knees in towards the center as if you were at 12 o'clock again. The hands are going to go against the thighs. So your feet are off the floor, your knees are in. But if you're noticing that your hip flexors are bugging you, let those knees come a little closer towards the torso. So Kathy, are the hip flexors bugging you? Yes, okay. So let the knees come nice and heavy towards your chest. Yeah, does that feel a little bit better? Yes, okay, great. So the hands are going to be against your thighs, and you're just picking a place where you can feel comfortable against the roller. And we're going into something that's called, it's a tuck and tilt here. It's a little bit of a core challenge. It's a low back decompression. You're going to take your low back curve and let it come into that tuck position. So feel like it's coming down towards the floor. And then I want you to come into a tilt where you're arching your back away from the floor. Avoid the temptation to move your legs, but keep those knees nice and still and just focus your energy on your spine. So Kathy, keep those knees nice and heavy towards the chest. Get out of that hip flexor. That looks good to me. A little bit of pressure from the hands to the legs to the hands. Think about the back as you lift and lower away from the floor. It's that tuck and tilt business that we were doing on the roller. Good. You can make this kind of dramatic to start with, and then I want you to really finesse this so that you're keeping your thoracic spine weighted to the floor, especially where your shoulder blades are. And then just move through the low back curve all on its own. If you're noticing that the knees keep moving in towards the chest, then your hip flexors are kind of bossy. So we'll work on those in just a second. Find a place that feels like you're neutral. So the thoracic spine, especially at the shoulder blades, is weighted to the floor. and you have that nice sexy kitty lift through that low back curve. You have a little pressure between your hands and your legs and your legs and your hands. There's pressure on the back of your head. You can feel the shoulder blades against the floor. The back of the pelvis is against the roller. The heels are heavy towards the back of the thighs. And you'll give me three deep breaths. Inhale through the nose and exhale, pulling your belly button into your body. You can choose any of those noisy exhales that we did at the beginning of class. So it's an inhale and sink that belly button in nice and tight. Low back decompression, giving yourself more room at the low back curve. The right foot will come to the floor. Don't lose that nice neutral. The right foot comes completely to the floor. That's it. Make sure you feel the big toe, the ball of the foot, the side of the foot and the heel on that right foot. Still in neutral through the low back curve. The hands can come either to the hamstring muscle on the left leg, or they can come to the shin. Either way. From here, you'll inhale to prepare, and on your exhale, pull your belly button deep into your body. Let the low back curve pull down towards the floor. So you're in a tuck position here. Focus your energy on the right leg and see if you can move that right knee further away from your right hip. So you're lengthening the tissue on the front of the right thigh. Inhale to release the tension. Exhale to engage the core. Let that low back curve pull down towards the floor, lengthening the tissue on the right thigh. So you're pulling that right knee away. Inhale to release. Whenever you inhale to release, that's when the fluid pulls into the front of that right leg. And we'll do it one more time. Inhale. Exhale, engage your core. Tuck your pelvis. Lengthen through the tissue on the right leg. And then release. So the left foot's going to come to the floor, the right knee comes in towards the chest. So go ahead and switch those legs around. Hands either go to the shin or the hamstring, whatever feels comfortable to you. So make sure you're still in neutral through that low back curve. So Kathy, that leg might be a little close to your chest. It might force, the left leg might be a little close. And when you're ready, inhale to prepare, exhale to engage your core. Let that low back reach down towards the floor and lengthen through that left leg. Inhale to release the tension. So you can kind of let go of that tuck position, let go of that tension. Prepare for two more. Inhale to prepare, exhale to engage your core. Let that low back reach down towards the floor in that tuck position. And feel that left leg lengthen at the thigh. Inhale to release, and we'll do it one more time. Exhale to engage your core, tuck your pelvis, and lengthen through that left thigh, feeling like you could take that left knee away from the hip. Inhale and release. Go ahead and take your foot to the floor, bridge up, take that roller out from underneath you, and lie on your back. Arms and legs are straight. Just notice how the body feels. Checking on those shoulder blades. Ideally, they're wide and flat. Bottom of the rib cage, ideally heavy. Nice little lift through the low back curve. Ideally, the butt cheeks are on the floor, as are the back of the thighs. Give yourself another chance to do a head turn assessment. And if you notice, so turning your head right and left, and if you notice that you have a little bit better range of motion through the neck, it's because we released tension through the hips. Anybody notice that? Feel like you got a little bit more range of motion? Yeah, beautiful, great. Nice, 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 nice. Good, Martha. Okay, come on back to center. Roll over into a shoulder, come on up to sitting. Okay, so the next one we're gonna do is upper back glide and shear. And I just, this is always a challenge to teach. It's such a great movement. And once you get it, you'll love it. But I think what I'd love to have you do is see if you can orient yourself so that you're facing your camera rather than being on the side so that you can look at me and I can look at you. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so Teresa Edge, that looks good, just the way you have it with the roller behind you. Okay, great. So we're gonna take the roller, and since I know Teresa Edge and Julie have done this and Barbara Fleming have done this a lot, so let's go ahead and have you set up and let Kathy and Martha and Teresa Luciano kind of watch you as you do this. You can all see each other, right? Still have that gallery mode set up?
No, hold on.
Okay, if you don't have gallery mode set up, you might want to do that. Great. Okay, so from here, Teresa Edge, can you orient your body towards me so your feet are turned towards the camera? Yeah, that's it. Perfect. She's going to take her roller and she's going to put it behind her and she's going to face me. Yeah. And you're going to bend your knees. Yeah. Bend your knees. Yeah. And she's going to take her hands behind her head. Good. And she's going to bridge up. So pick your hips up off the floor. Good. And you're going to move the roller to the shoulder blades.
Oh.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, good. Nice. So get that roller right against your shoulder blades. Yep, there you go. You got it. You got it. You got it. Okay, great. From here, I want your feet to be flat to the floor. I don't want your feet too close to your hips, okay? They're going to be a little bit further away from your hips rather than tucked in too tight. You're going to exhale to engage your core, and you're going to push your feet into the floor to pick your hips up. And this gives you a chance to move the roller into the right spot, and it should be right there at your shoulder blade. So if you want to bend your knees a little bit more, move the roller, good, that's it. Good, Martha, that looks nice. So once you have the roller against your shoulder blades, Sue Hitzman actually does this little punch with her arms. So you could take maybe one hand away if you were afraid of your neck and just kind of move. There you go, right up to the ceiling, Martha. Right? Yeah, there you go. And you'll be able to feel your shoulder blade kind of bang down into the roller. Can you feel that? Yes. And then go ahead and switch and do the other one. And that'll give you a little hint that you're in the right place. So the shoulder blades are right up against the roller. And if you're not quite sure, don't worry about it. We have an opportunity to work one-on-one, and this could be one of the things that comes up for you. That's fine. So from here, your eye gaze, so the shoulder blades are against the roller, and I want you to tuck your pelvis. Your hips are still off the floor. You're going to tuck your pelvis, and you're going to return your hips to the mat. Hold the tuck. Hold the tuck. Bring your hips down onto the mat. There you go. And hold that tuck. Good. Okay. So Martha looks really good. Her eye gaze is right in line with her roller, which is really what I want to see. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is an assessment. So you're going to exhale to engage the core, and you're going to keep your head nice and neutral. So don't let the chin come down to your collarbones. And I want you to let the back of the shoulders come over the other side of the roller a little bit. Keep yourself in the tuck. Keep your chin away from your chest. You're not tucking your chin. And so Martha's saying, okay, this is as far back as my connective tissue is going to let me go. Does that make sense? From here, you're going to go into a little side bend. So you could take the right elbow and reach it over towards the right hip. Beautiful. Nice, Martha. Avoid the temptation to turn your head, though. Look right up at the ceiling where you were. And that's compensation right there. Does that make sense to you? So if she's feeling like she can't get a good side bend, she's going to turn her head to compensate for that. So as you side bend to the right, just notice how far over you can go. Take a breath into the left side of the rib cage and just notice if you have that expansion. We talked about that before. It could be a little tight and sticky here. Exhale when you're ready and come into a side bend to the other side. Notice how far you're going over there. And then take a breath into the opposite side of the rib cage. When you're ready, inhale to stay. Exhale, come to center. The elbows are going to close in. So the elbows are pointing right up towards the ceiling. The belly button's pulled in, you're engaging your core, and I want you to push your feet into the floor to lift your hips up off the floor. And then I want you to move your body against the roller. So the hips are up. And Martha, make sure you're looking at your knees the whole time so that we're nice and flexed through the spinal column. So look at your knees, Flex your, that's it, girl. That's it. And then move against the roller from here. Good. Yes, 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 yes. I'll have what she's having. Yeah, that looks good. So smaller and smaller until you stop. You might notice that there's a little clicking, a little snapping in here. You might notice that you have a little area of tension. You're just going to come right up to what we call the barrier. So you might notice that there's a place that feels like it's a little tender as you push into the tissue. So you're just pushing fluid into a dry place, come right up to the barrier. If it feels good to roll over it, go right ahead, but you don't have to. The important thing is to keep your eye gaze towards your thighs so that you're not extending over the roller, but you're flexing towards the thighs. Smaller and smaller until you stop. Send your hips to the floor. You're still in a tuck. Hold your hips on the floor. You're still tucking. Your eye gaze is towards your thighs. And you're going to scratch your back against the roller. Yeah, that's it. A little scratch. Go nice and deep with that scratch. Side to side. Sometimes our clothes get in the way. We have a little wardrobe malfunction. I feel like your t-shirt's coming up over your head. Kind of thought that's what it was. Come on back to center when you're ready. Belly button to spine. Pick your hips up. Hold that flexion through your body so you still have that tuck. And we're going to rinse. Just push the roller down towards the bottom of your rib cage. And then pull the roller back up to the shoulders. Yes. And Martha, just look at your thighs the whole time. So flex your spine, push into the roller. And again, if you feel like, wow, this is really hard for me today, then these are one of the ones that we could do together in a private consult and just give you a chance to refine this on your own. Good. Nice, 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 nice. Okay. So you might feel like you want to come off the roller just for a second, and then we'll go ahead and set you back up for a reassessment. We'll just do that one place. So you could go ahead and sit back up if you want to, position that roller behind your body. There you go. My lovely assistant, Teresa Edge, is going to show you how to do it again. She's going to bend her knees. Her feet are going to be flat to the floor. And the roller is just behind her. She can put her hands behind her head, just come right back. She's going to engage the core, pick her hips up, and move the roller right against the shoulder blades. Tuck your pelvis and return the tucked pelvis to the floor where we'll reassess. So I'll do that one more time. So Martha, that looks great. So all you're going to do is engage your core, pick your hips up, and move the roller against the shoulder blades for the reassessment. Hold your position right there. Tuck your pelvis, hold that big old tuck. Let your hips come back down towards your mat. And now we're going to extend back over the roller, keeping yourself in the tuck and keeping your chin in its neutral alignment. Nice. So do you feel like you're getting a little bit more extension through the spinal column? You'd be able to get a little bit further back. Yeah, so some of you might want to stay here, or you can come up an inch or so and then go into that side bend. So take yourself to one side or the other. Nice, Martha, perfect. And hold that side bend for me. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. Use the exhale as a lengthening technique to further extend through that sideline body. Notice if the ribs expand a little bit more. And then when you're ready, inhale, stay. Exhale to come into the other side, going into a side bend on the other side. Explore that range of motion by exhaling to engage the core, lengthening through that tissue. And when you're ready, come back to center. Beautiful, nice job. Come back to center, get that roller out from underneath you. That's all we have time for today. Let's get you on your back and we'll do one more assessment. That's a tricky one, right? That upper back glide and shear. It's really yummy. It's got a lot of instructions. Once you learn how to do it, you're gonna be so glad that you did. Lying on your back. So Julie, how you feeling? Julie? She's on mute, but I hope she's feeling good. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, good, okay. So what we're doing here is a final assessment. You could consider how you felt at the beginning of our class today and just compare that to how you're feeling now. Sometimes Students will feel better in the middle of the class than they do at the end of the class. So if that's you, please let me know. Ideally, the shoulder blades feel wide and flat and heavy on the floor. That upper back glide and shear that we just did is a great way to send fluid in through the spinal column and the tissues of the rib cage. So hopefully the shoulder blades feel nice and flat. Take a finger, poke it into your belly button, draw that line straight through your body. And ideally the ribs feel weighted to the floor. Does anybody notice it just feels like you've got a little bit more weight there? Yeah, good, 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 good. And then travel down into the pelvis, and ideally the butt cheeks are weighted to the floor. So here's the thing, if the butt cheeks are weighted to the floor and you feel like you've got weight on the thoracic spine, you should have a lift in the low back curve. And I always see Martha kind of tucking her hand underneath. And let's see, Martha, if you can just not do that for a moment, just kind of think about how you feel rather than feel the way you feel. And I just want you to assess the curve of the low back and compare that to the curve at the back of your neck. And avoid the temptation to feel it with your hands, just kind of sense it with your proprioceptors. And ideally, the low back curve and the curve at the back of the neck are the same. So avoid the temptation to feel it with your hands. Trust your body, trust the message is that it sends you. The back of the thighs ideally are weighted to the floor. And if you divide your body in half, right and left, you should feel evenly weighted and even length. And I want you to consider this as we leave each other today. When you work with the connective tissue, you're really connecting with your body's quiet little voice. And I want you to tell your quiet voice, this quiet aspect of your body, that you're sorry, that you love it, that you're sorry you've been gone for so long, but now you're back and you promise that you'll stay and you'll care for this quiet aspect of your body and you will love it as the essence of who you are. It stores your memories, it moves you, it heals you. It really does create your body's shape and how you feel. Your connective tissue is just a magical system of the body. And I love you so much for taking the time to take care of it and learn more about it. Okay, know that I'm available for you anytime. If you haven't already gotten your 30-minute consult, please do that. And know that it's not just one consult. You can really use that anytime you need me, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and prepare this as a recording and you can do this anytime you like during the week, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Wendy.
much. Good work
Thank
getting up
you.
so early, Barbara. Woo, 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 woo. You rock.
I do feel better.
Yay, good. How'd you do, Kathy?
Good. I had a little cramping in the back of my thighs.
Me too, Kathy.
Me too.
Okay, so do you know what that means, that cramping?
Nope.
Okay, so cramping could be dehydration of the connective tissue. So we're actually doing the right thing. Next week, let's explore the back of thigh glide and shear, which is a great way to get more fluid back there. But you should be fine. It's not, it's not the worst thing to happen. It feels quite dramatic at the time. I've given people Academy Awards during classes for being dramatic during email class with cramping hamstring. But I love you all very much. Have a beautiful day. And don't forget to reach out to me anytime you need it. You've got a 30-minute consult coming your way. Okay?
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. Bye. Bye, Barbara. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.